In this video, I would like to share some important tips regarding strumming. Whenever you are playing guitar, it is very important to keep your right hand in a very relaxed state, and there should be no tension anywhere in the body, especially in the back, forearms and the wrist joint, as this can cause you to tense up and miss the groove, especially at faster tempos. The second tip is about holding the plectrum correctly. So when I grip the plectrum, I tend to use these two fingers, the thumb and the index, and my grip on the plectrum is firm but not too tight or too loose. If it's too loose, there is a danger of the pick falling down, and if it's too tight, then it may lead to an unintentionally aggressive sounding pick attack. So the grip should be firm but not too tight or too loose. Also, when you are strumming, the pick should be at a slight angle to the strings, as it results in a brighter and a warmer kind of a sound. Now tip number 3 is one of the most important points, especially for beginner guitar players, is that you should always strum from your wrist. That is, the main movement should happen at the wrist joint. And the reason for this is that it's much easier to speed this up because there is very little amount of energy that is required to just move your wrist as compared to larger joints such as the elbows and the shoulders. Also, it makes the strumming sound much more fluid and effective. So for example, the correct way to strum would be like this. Now the next tip is that whenever you are learning a new pattern, you should always isolate the two hands. Especially you should start off with the right hand first and get the movement of the right hand smooth and fluid, and then add the left hand chords to it. So this can be done by muting the strings of the guitar by lightly placing your fingers anywhere on the fretboard and just grooving with your right hand first and playing on the muted guitar. So for example, it would sound something like this. So whenever I try to figure out the strumming pattern of a song, this is how I do it. I usually play with a muted guitar and then just put the track on and groove with my right hand. And it's a really very effective way of getting the correct strum pattern and the correct feel of the groove. Also, when you're trying to learn a new pattern on the guitar, always make it a point to start slow, get the pattern perfectly at that slower tempo, and then once you're confident about the groove and both the hands are in sync, then you can slowly speed it up and get it to the desired tempo. Always practice with a metronome, a click track or backing drums, as it really helps you to get the groove perfectly, and there are many apps as well as physical devices available for this. The next tip is that you should always try to keep the right hand moving constantly, even if you're not playing that particular downstroke or upstroke. And this is really important if you're playing more advanced rhythms, especially syncopated or offbeat grooves, where you have to sometimes hit the offbeats. So for example, something like this. Coming to point number 7, it is extremely important to remember that while learning the subdivisions of the beat and learning how to count rhythms is extremely vital, especially for more complex rhythms. However, if you try to get too technical at times, it may come in the way of you feeling the groove naturally and intuitively. So whenever you are trying to figure out a new strum pattern, you should always try to do it just by your ears first, without trying to get too much into the technicalities. Now coming to the next point, which is for effective chord shifting, and that is a very important aspect of strumming. So whenever you are having a lot of chord changes, it's very important to be ready or to anticipate the next chord in the sequence so that your right hand and left hand stay in sync. Now the next tip is about an area which differentiates a professional sounding guitarist from an amateur one, and that is known as dynamics. So what exactly are dynamics? it is very simple things like playing according to the situation. You can either go soft or loud, or create some interesting variations using ghost notes or muting or emphasizing or accenting certain points. So now let me play for you an example of a chord progression. First, I will be playing it in a normal fashion, and then I'll be adding some interesting dynamics to it. Now with dynamics. Now coming to the very last point is that after you've got all of these basics down, try to learn as many songs as possible from start to end, and with all the transitions and changes in strumming patterns in the different sections of the song, as this will really help you to smoothen out your strumming and make it very fluid. Also, watching a lot of videos, especially of your favorite guitar players, really helps in getting some of the nuances down which you may miss otherwise.